You can now hear Movie Heaven, Movie Hell on Stitcher. Stitcher is radio on demand. Listen anytime, anywhere. Stitcher is an award-winning free app that lets you listen to all your favourite shows, plus discover from 20,000 news, entertainment and sports shows. You can also create your own custom playlists. Stitcher is available on iOS, Android, Nook, iPad and in over 4 million car dashboards. It's on demand and it's on the go. No downloading, no syncing, no wasted memory. You can stream your favourite podcasts from Stitcher. Don't have Stitcher? Download it free today at Stitcher.com or in the App Store. And please leave us a review and rating on Stitcher. Thank you. Welcome to Movie Heaven, Movie Hell with me, Simon Aitken, and
I'm Keith Eyles, and we are both independent filmmakers who enjoy discussing movies, TV shows, and the various aspects of film production. And for this bonus episode, we are joined by somebody that Simon and I have both worked with. We have with us makeup and effects artist Virginia Popova. So, Virginia, welcome to the show.
Hello, guys.
How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Not too bad at all. Obviously, like I said there, myself and Simon, we know exactly who you are, but for the benefit of our listeners out there, do you want to start off just by telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do creatively for a living?
Yeah, sure. I'm a makeup and special effects makeup artist, and I do hair makeup and prosthetic makeup, injury, and all kinds of special effects makeup for mainly films, sometimes stage. That's about it. And
that's quite a lot.
And at the moment I'm studying digital effects at National Film and Television School.
is it just digital effects or is it using digital effects to add to sort of practical effects?
The course is mainly digital effects, but it does collaborate with the special effects and the practical effects side of things. So we have a module on practical effects like explosions and atmospheres and rain and stuff like that. And then we have a module on prosthetics as well, in which we produce our so-called Gore Fest short film, which is in collaboration with Gorton Studios. Where we go and, produce all the prosthetics for the film and all the effects needed, gore effects needed, hence the name Gore Fest. It's usually a horror story. No, it's always a horror story. So, yeah, very gory.
Yeah.
Very gory. It's great fun.
Have you done your one yet, or are you yet to do it?
Well, our one is just finished.
Okay.
It's called Good Samaritans, and it's a vampire story.
Very good too. That sounds great.
Last year, Gorefest made it to the, what was it, the film for...
Fright Fest.
Fright Fest, yeah. It was called The Mayflower.
Okay.
And it was shown in the Fright Fest last year. So maybe we'll make it to the Fright Fest as well.
Oh, fingers crossed.
Who knows?
Well, we'll certainly be there if you do.
Yes.
So that's great. I mean, one of the things we've been discussing on some of our recent podcasts actually is this sort of we often talk about the old school world of in-camera based effects, versus this digital world that we're now in of visual effects as well. And I think, when movies are almost at their best nowadays is when they sort of combine elements of both. And I just wondered, from a makeup artist's point of view, what are your feelings on this, and which do you prefer and how do you like to work?
Well, you're kind of right on the point there. There was like a big quarrel between the special effects and the digital effects side of the business for a long time. And when I started with special effects back in 2008, a lot of people were asking me, why am I studying special effects when, they're not going to exist in a couple of years? That's what everybody were saying. And I turned around back then and I said, well, I don't think this is an art that would ever die, because it gives you this more human feel to things that digital effects not always manages to do, no matter how good it is. And in recent years, they start combining both. So the departments, the digital effects departments start working quite close with the special effects departments and collaborate in various different areas. For example, they have special effects guys producing pyrotechnical effects on green screen and then using that to compose in the final picture. So they don't create the fire effects or the explosion effects. They actually use a real one and they just add them to the backplate they have. And they have much better results than what they used to have before, plus it's faster. So they have a bit of both. Digital effects are very time consuming and very they require a lot of human power to be produced. So in recent years, people realized that the best result, kind of aesthetically pleasing and financially, is to combine both. So they shoot the effects in camera to the best they can, and then they can enhance that digitally, which means they only need to work on certain parts of the shot rather than the whole shot. Which obviously reduce the time needed to be, finished in post.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think you used the key word there when you said enhanced, and it does seem that more and more now, film producers and filmmakers are going back to, doing as much as they can in camera when it comes to special effects and, stunt work and, fires and all of that sort of stuff. And absolutely, they're using the wonderful manipulation of digital effects to greater enhance and expand and add to it, and movies have always been about different elements and composites and whatever making a final film, and I think when it's handled that way, it works nicely. You add a bit more blood if necessary, because then you can always remove it as well if you want to get a PG-13, which a lot of films are doing as well nowadays.
There's also another thing, especially in horror films, like something like the TV show Supernatural or something like that, when you have, let's say, a ghost character that infects some injuries on somebody, for example. What they do these days usually is they have a prosthetic piece which is with the injury, and then they work backwards digitally to remove the injury, so you can see in the shot this cut opening.
Wow, okay.
So that's how they do it. They have a piece applied already, and then they just digitally close it slowly backwards. And it works perfectly. It works amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, from your point of view, then, the fact that you're also, if you like, studying the digital side as well, is that with a view to sort of future proofing yourself, or just being able to expand the amount of skills that you've already got around the traditional makeup?
Multiple reasons, really. First, I always was interested of all sides of effects. So I did a model making as well after I did my special effects course. Now this is kind of the last bit of effects side, prop making side I'm exploring. But also I wanted to know what's the process in post-production, because I find knowing that makes me think about when I create my prosthetics, when I know I'm going to work with a digital team, makes me think what would serve best them and what would serve best the look. So I can design my prosthetics to help them as well. So we have the best result overall. But without understanding what they do, I couldn't really do that. I couldn't design my prosthetic piece based on what they need as well as what I need.
No, that makes sense.
So, Virginia, have you worked on many films then where this process has happened, that you've had to do prosthetics that for the sort of the digital end?
I've done a couple of things since I've been in National Film and Television School. One was for an animation film that I had to create a couple of prosthetic pieces, which were then transitioning into other bits of kind of bit more psychedelic bits of the animation. It was about a post-traumatic stress of a policeman and what he's going through, and it was a combination of live action models and 2D animation. So it had a lot of different techniques in. So the memories of the policeman were live action, and he was remembering this murdered kid. And I had to create a couple of prosthetic pieces for it. And then it was going into this kind of dream sequence, or I should say nightmare sequence, which was going from the prosthetic into kind of like a tunnel, blood tunnel. So that was something, because, they had to have a tracking markers on the prosthetic, and the prosthetic had to be designed in a way that they have a good entrance for it, for the tunnel, to compose the one bit into the other. So that was one. That was my probably first big challenge in that kind of sense. And obviously our Gore Fest was a lot of it. So in our Gore Fest were combination of digital and practical in a big scale. Like 70% of the things we did were supposed to be combined with digital enhancement. So yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's
so
cool.
we had a I don't want to say much to spoil it, but we had like a bat which was hanging and then flying off, and we made a real bat. But then we digitally did the flying off bit. So that was a combination, and the digital model had to match the real model. And then there was some other bits, but I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it.
And obviously, you do as well as actual effects makeup. You do the sort of regular film makeup and hair as well, as part of your job.
Yeah, I do. Yes.
Yeah, I've seen you do both. So, but not the digital yet. So.
Yeah, not yet.
No,
still learning there. It's a steep learning curve for me there, because I came from practical background completely, so everything was new to me, the world.
Same as us, really, from a filmmaking point of view as well, and it's forever evolving and changing. But so just sort of winding back the clock a little bit then with your story. Obviously, initially, then you had a sort of love for the practical makeup effects. When you were sort of growing up and getting interested in this, I mean, what sort of films or makeup artists inspired you early on, and what sort of movies are you into? I mean, what do you like?
Well, when I was about 12, I discovered I can draw. And I decided I want to go into arts. And about the same time, I fell in love with movies as well. And my best friend at the time suggested, oh, why don't you combine both and do special effects? And I was like, oh, what's that? So I started looking into it, and I got interested. Oh, sorry about that. Can
Is
you
that your
hear
phone? Is that your phone? Yeah, I wondered whose it was. I was like, it's not
my
mine.
phone, yeah. No, it's mine. Sorry.
You're popular. It's all those gigs.
Well, actually, I supposed to do a live cast probably later on today, so I think it's probably message about that.
There you go. So it's all relevant. That's good.
Oh yeah. So I got interested, started trying to look into it, which wasn't very easy in just post-communist country when there was nothing. It was a big crisis. The regime's just gone and internet wasn't big, so there wasn't much access to information. So any little bit of information I could hang on to, and behind the scenes wasn't a big thing back then either. So there was like little glimpses here and there, whatever I could get hold of, and I would use my mom eyeshadows trying to do like black eye and stuff like that. And just try to wing it, without knowing the proper techniques or anything. And then I watched 2 films, which not many people know of, and they're called FX and FX2.
Oh, yes.
They're sequels.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Murder by Illusion.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's right. Brian Dennehy and was
right.
it? Who was the other chap? The Australian chap.
Another Brian something as well.
Yeah.
Brian as well.
Oh, that's going to annoy me now. But I know the films very well. Yeah, there were 2 of them, weren't there? And I believe there was a series as well.
Yeah, there was. The series never got to my country, but FX1 and 2 did.
Brian Brown. Yes,
All
yeah.
right.
And I didn't look that up. It's just it took a while for my brain to work.
I was just about to look at my DVD because I saw them recently released, and re-released, obviously, and I bought them.
Oh, great. Any extras on them?
Not much, sadly, for films like that.
Yeah.
That old movies, they don't have that much extras. But it was nice to watch them again,
Yeah, no, they're both. I remember at the time quite enjoying both of those. So yeah,
Yeah, they're pretty good. I even enjoy them now. They're still hold up really good. Yes. The effects are amazing. So that was the time that I was like, oh my God, I want to be able to do what that guy does. So that was it for me. And then obviously everybody were telling me, oh, you'll never be a makeup artist. There's no film industry in Bulgaria. There's no courses to study makeup or effects or anything like that. You should, pick something else. So I did textile design in high school and stuff like that. But, in my heart, I could never give it up. So I skipped checking schools in the States and in Canada and stuff. And then I ended up coming to UK, and after a few years here, I separated with my partner, and I decided to go for a course on effects, on special effects makeup. And originally I was accepted in a school in Canada, but I couldn't sort out my funding for it. So I decided to look for alternatives in UK, and I found a college in London which accepted me, and that's how the whole thing started for me. And basically I was still on my course 4 months in when I got my first short film. The minute I stepped on that set, I knew that's it for me. That's what I want to do. So yeah.
Was that the same college course you were doing when I first met you? Or was that
Yes.
Yes.
No, it is the same, but the movie I did with you was my 4th movie.
Ah, okay.
So I had 3 shorts before the one we did.
Which one was that you guys did together?
It was called Keeper.
Keeper,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was written and produced by Benjamin Green, and starring, of course. And it was a short film that was, the aim was to raise the money to make a feature out of the story. And so they sort of made a little short out of it, and just to sort of distill the kind of idea that they wanted to do, and then they wanted to go bigger.
They took it to Cannes, I believe.
They did, yes. Yes, where Ben got some interesting reviews about it.
Really?
Yes. So that's
I haven't heard that story.
Have you not? Oh, okay. I'll quickly tell it to you. What it was is when we were over in Cannes, Benjamin had the film on his phone, and so this was 2009. So the screen wasn't too big, but it was big enough that you could watch it. And he showed it to a few other filmmakers, and one filmmaker sort of said, "Oh, I really enjoyed it until that part where you crossed the line." And for some reason, just saying that sort of riled him up, and he got really, really angry in the guy's face.
Oh no!
He's like, crossing the line. But I must admit that
had he?
Yes, he had, unfortunately.
Oh well,
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it wasn't helped by the mirror next to it, was it?
No, that was a tough shoot. I don't know how that was for you, Virginia, but I remember it being quite tough, and the fact that we shot over a weekend, and the Saturday was really long, and they didn't feed us properly.
It was very pressured
dear.
for me from point of view of effects, because I had a lot of effects.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a bit tough, yeah.
But it led to you working together again, so it's all good.
Yes.
But the thing is, I had my colleague from college doing the straight hair and makeup for it, so that took a bit of pressure off, which was good.
Yeah. Do you want to tell the listeners at home what the effect was? Because it was really good, and they actually used it as the poster for the film.
Yeah, I still use that on my business cards, actually. One of the shots that Andy did,
Yeah.
Andy Thornhill, yeah, he did a couple of really good shots of the suicide gunshot wound I made for the end of the movie. Well, I had numerous effects there, because there is like a fight scene. So I had some bruises and cuts on one of the actors, a cut on the mouth, a black eye,
Yeah.
cut on the ear, and some other like small cuts on the face. But then the other character gets a gun at the end of the film and commits suicide. And I had to do the gunshot entrance wound and a pool of blood underneath his head in this final scene, which was a good challenge. It turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
I got some really good shots of it, and yeah, they did end up using it as the poster.
That's right.
No, nice one. And is this film available online if any of our listeners want to see this?
I believe it is. I think it's up on YouTube. I'm sure there's a link to it.
All right. Oh,
I think it is. Yeah.
Cool. All right, I'll have to check that out, because I'm not sure I've seen that one. So I'll check it out myself as well. Excellent. So that's where you two first met, and then obviously
well, that wasn't where we first
projects. Oh, okay.
That was the first time we worked together, but
yeah.
we happened to meet a little bit before that, because of a mutual friend.
Well, yes.
Who happened to be my prosthetic tutor in college, Brendan.
Brendan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Brendan Lonergan.
So Brendan Lonergan was my prosthetic tutor in college, and we were his first group he ever taught. So we used to go to the pub a lot with him and our art teacher.
Yeah, that's
Fridays,
right.
I think on Fridays, yeah. Thursdays and Fridays sometimes. And on one of these occasions, he brought Simon along, which was when I met Simon for the first time, I do believe.
That's right. And Brendan, he was the special effects artist who did Blood and Roses.
That's right. We had him on, didn't we, when we did the trip down memory lane with the cast and crew. I remember that well, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so because I I think at the time he was planning to do his own short film, which was an adaptation of The Ghouls. And
yes, that's right. Yes,
that's right. Yeah,
So-
I think he mentioned that when we interviewed him. I seem to remember him saying something about that. Anyway,
That's right,
it may have
yeah.
been afterwards. I don't know.
Well, it was a case of that he wanted to do The Ghouls as a short, but because it was about 30 pages long, his script, it was too long for a short film and too short to be a feature. So I came up with the idea of doing an anthology film based around the exploitation of the dead, which was called Habeas Corpus. And
Right,
Yeah.
yes.
yeah.
And the rest is history there. Yeah, no, absolutely.
well, yeah, it kind of was history because it never got made. We did a teaser trailer.
It got screened. I was going to say, I remember that trailer getting screened on the massive Empire One screen at Fright Fest when I first met you, actually, which was. I can't remember what year that was exactly, but I remember being very impressed to see it up on the big screen, and I wasn't so impressed with the feature that followed it, which I can't even remember what that was now. So there you go.
I believe the feature was called Primal.
Oh right, okay. So there you go.
Yeah, I think that's the only occasion I actually worked with Brendan. When we did that trailer.
Yeah. So how was it working with Brendan? Because being the producer on that one, I sort of was, I was elsewhere doing other things. But what was that like?
It was a bit of a funny thing, really, because I was supposed to do just the straight hair and makeup. That's was the original arrangement, and Brendan was doing the special effects. But then when on the shooting day, he still had some stuff to finish off on the zombie makeup. So I jumped on board to assist him with the special effects as well. So I was kind of like on-set person on the special effects while he was like finishing off zombie things and doing the application of the zombie makeup and all that. And then when we came back from the set, I jumped on helping him to finish off the zombie makeup, which he had like a little bit left. So I jumped on board to help him finish. It was pretty good. I didn't have any problems working with him. Just that's the only occasion we had working together. It was really, it was interesting. It was cool. I always wanted to work with him because obviously he was my teacher. But when you first start, you usually do small projects, so you usually handle the whole thing on your own.
Yeah.
You don't really collaborate with people much on small things. So, yeah.
But I mean, you've worked on features and stuff since then. So have you had a chance to collaborate with other SFX makeup artists?
On some things, yes, but most low-budget features try to go on with one person doing the whole thing, unless it's very heavy on effects. Like I was a support makeup artist on Nights of the Damned, I think 2016. So because that was very heavy on the effects. So I did 3 days on the shoot, helping out the main makeup artist, but she was, on a lot of the days, she was on her own. She didn't have people working with her every single day of the shoot. Only the days where were heavy on makeup.
Yeah.
So I did 3 days on that. Like we had some zombies, we had some cuts, we had a lot of fun. I did some hair as well, because she had some hair as well that she needed to do. So I helped her out with that. It was fun. I've also actually did a graduate short film last year for National Film and Television School, which was very heavy on effects and hair and makeup as well, because it had a big cast. So we had 2 teams, which rarely happens on a short film.
Yeah.
So we had a makeup team, which was 3 makeup artists, and we had a special effects team, which I was heading, and we were three people as well.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, which was great. I really enjoyed that.
Well, when I worked on Transformers, they actually had like a whole, actually 2 tents full of hair and makeup to do all these extras.
Yeah, that's the daily makeup artists. They're hired on a daily basis.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're the crowds. We call them crowd makeup artists. Yeah, and then you can have hundreds of them for one day.
Mm.
If you have like a massive crowd scene with a lot of supporting actors, you would
Yes.
have hundreds of them.
Well, the challenge they had was they had God, there was hundreds of us all being Saxons, so we all had to have long hair, beards. We all had to be bloodied up. Then we had all had to be muddied up as well with our with our costumes and everything. So it was it literally went. It went first. We went into costume, then we went into hair, then it was makeup, and then we went into the mud room to get muddied up.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have numerous people doing like different parts of it.
Yeah.
On big productions like that, yeah.
The production line, yeah.
Yeah. I did a film last year called In the Name of Ben-Hur no, it wasn't last year, it was 2 years ago now, I think.
Wow. Yeah.
Which we shot in Wales, North Wales. And I was the key makeup artist, and I was supposed to have assistants on crowd stays, which they were hoping to source locally.
Ah.
And the first day we had crowds, they managed to source somebody. The second day, however, they didn't, and it was a freaking nightmare for me, meaning of time, because I was really pushed with time. I loved working with these guys. I would always work with them again, but it was just manic because I had so many people, and they quite often they overbook supporting actors.
Yes.
Because sometimes people don't turn up, and they all turned up. So they thought, oh, it's a big tavern scene, so we're gonna use them all.
Yeah.
And me and the costume girl, we were going crazy because it was just so many people, and they were keep coming in,
Yeah.
to no end.
And I imagine you also had to do the main cast as well.
Yes. The main cast was first, and then all the supporting actors. So we did the main cast first, and they went off shooting some other scene just before that, to give us a bit of time to do the supporting actors.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. I just didn't know who I am by lunch. And the worst of it was most of them had tattoos, and this is Ben-Hur.
Right. Oh, okay.
Oh, so you had to hide
have
them.
tattoos back then, so we had to hide them. And we start coming up with all kinds of clever ways to hide them, not just with makeup, but with costume, because, hiding tattoo technically with makeup, it is possible, but it takes time to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it requires a lot of layering of materials on top of one another, so you can battle the color of the tattoo, especially if it's black, because it just comes through the makeup. And there is a special technique to do it, and it takes time.
Yeah.
And also it can rub off with the time, depends on which part of the body. If it rubs off in the clothes, it will rub off, and then you have to redo it. So we were coming up with all kinds of clever ways to hide the tattoos.
Yeah, I remember them saying on the original Tomb Raider film that starred Angelina Jolie, it was a big problem because she's got quite a lot of tattoos, and of course, that version of Lara Croft showed quite a bit of skin. so they said, and obviously was involved in a lot of action scenes. So yeah, it was a constantly having to reapply makeup just to hide tattoos. So yeah, I can imagine. It's
been a joy for the makeup artists.
Yeah, well, you know, it's when, especially when it's the stuff you don't see, you know, the stuff people don't notice. It's always that fine line, isn't it? So apart from you know, FX, Murder by Illusions and whatever, what other films instantly spring to mind for you as films that, you know, you've always sort of been massively impressed with the makeup in particular on? Is there any other you know, thing that you're like, oh well, that was fantastic, I always refer to that, you know?
Funny enough, before I did do makeup effects, I didn't really used to watch a lot of horror films. I wasn't a big fan of the horror genre. I know you guys are, but I wasn't. And then when I start doing effects, I start getting into it a bit more. And now I would watch any horror movie, really.
Right.
Just because I want to see the effect, you know. It was anything like Legends of the Fall, for example. Or,
Okay.
yeah, I love this movie. It's got quite a few good effects in it. And a big, massive fuck up in effects continuity in one scene, which I didn't see for years.
Right.
Because the scene is so strong that you just don't notice it unless you look for it, you know.
What is it?
It's in the scene where the youngest brother dies.
Yeah.
And then there is a blood on his mouth. There's no blood on his mouth. There's blood on his mouth. There's no blood on his mouth.
Oh,
you know?
right. Okay.
It keeps changing. But the scene is so strong between the two brothers that you don't notice it. So I've seen the film maybe 10 times before I first noticed it. And I was like, oh.
There you go. The power of a good performance can hide all sorts.
Quite a few years after I actually was doing effects already, you know, so I was obviously paying more attention to things like this. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, that film was made obviously back before they were able to sort of add anything digitally afterwards. So probably nowadays they'd fix that, you know.
Plus, they were losing light.
Right.
Because this, if you remember, well, actually, if you look at it, you would see there's a light continuity issue as well, which they decided to keep at the end because they were losing light. But then at the end, they had these gorgeous kind of sunsetty colors. And it looked so nice, so they decided to keep it, although it wasn't matching with the light in the beginning of the scene.
Fair enough.
But they were pushed with time, so they obviously were pressurized with that as well.
Well, yeah, time is always a factor on these things.
So they were losing light, so they were rushing. So they probably didn't realize that this has happened. And I don't know, it's probably shot on film as well, so it's not like you can replay anything.
That's true, yeah.
It would have been, it's a pretty epic film as well, to be fair. So you know, it's interesting that there are these things even in these big lavish Hollywood productions, yet there are still continuity mistakes and things that happen, like you said, just not that they haven't got the resource, it's just often that, time, we've only got a limited amount of time, and it's always a pressure. So but hey, if it took you 10 watches to notice it because the performances were so good, then that says something, right?
But that's what they always say, regarding continuity issues. Like if people were looking at that, so that then what you're doing, it's not really worth watching. People noticing this kind of things, and this kind of like little continuity issues. Another one that came out around the same time, at least in Bulgaria, was Interview with the Vampire.
Oh, yes.
Right, yes.
And that's got some really good makeup and effects. That was something I was always interested of how it's done. Yeah,
no, that's a good touchstone as well for that sort of thing. Most definitely.
Yeah, that was amazing. I don't know. Do you remember the bit where the little girl Kristen Dunst, and the vampire, the female vampire that she asked Louis to create for her.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like a mother to her. That they were born in Paris in this kind of dungeon thing from the sunlight.
Yes, I
Mhm.
And
remember
they
it.
turn
Yeah,
into
remember
this
that.
ash. They turn into this ash statue, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And Louis comes in and touches the statue, and it falls down, crumbles down
That's right, yeah.
in a non-orderly, orderly manner. That was built by Stan Winston Studio, and it's got tons of detectors, which are telling the ash how to crumble down.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's why I said non-orderly, orderly manner.
Yeah, well, Stan Winston's definitely one of the greats.
It took them 3 months to work out how exactly to do it, and see, this is aided by computers to a certain extent, because the detectors were controlled by computer.
Yes.
So this is, you can say, it's a cross between digital and practical, I guess. Although it's more animatronic, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, it's still, going into the realm of computers to actually control an effect. But yeah, they actually build it in a specific sequence of crumbling.
So, who would you say is an FX artist that that inspires you?
That inspires me. Oh, well, Dick Smith, we all know.
Yes.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
Stan Winston, Rick Baker.
Yeah, I think we've talked about all three of those on various podcasts of ours, because, or they get mentioned because many of the films that we like and that we've talked about, have used those artists, and yeah, absolutely.
The guys that did The Darkest Hour, the Japanese guy, it's escaping my mind now.
The Darkest Hour.
Japanese guy, amazing sculptor. And he was actually retired, and he came back because Gary Oldman said he would only do Darkest Hour if this guy does his prosthetics.
Oh,
okay. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I'm surprised. Did he win an Oscar? Wouldn't have surprised. It wouldn't.
He did.
Surprise
Yes,
me. Yeah.
he did. Yeah, the team win Oscar. He designed the prosthetics, and then there was two other guys. So the three of them received the Oscar at the ceremony. They were the other two were the application team. So the special supervisor and
David Malinowski. Is that the guy?
That's the application team head.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tadzuhiro, I think it was Tadzuhiro. It's gonna be.
Katsuhiro Tsuji. Is that? I'm not sure if that's how it's pronounced, but yes.
Yes, that's the one.
And he did. Yeah, he was the makeup and hair designer for Gary Oldman.
Yes.
In that. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, so he did a few different versions until they, got the final, decided on the final. Because obviously Gary Oldman looks very different than.
Oh yeah, big time.
Churchill, so they had to find a way to change him enough to look as close as possible to Churchill, but also not restrict his ability to act. So there is like a really fine line there.
Yeah. I mean, there are. I mean, that's very true. There's fine lines between all of this this artistry when it comes to practical makeup and prosthetics and animatronics, and then digital enhanced makeup, and it really is. I think it's that whole thing. There's not just one way to do something. There are a number of ways, and it's whatever works. Like all of these things, whatever you believe. and what you don't notice is as important as what you notice, isn't it? It's a really it is a really delicate balance, I think, with that stuff.
And there is always a trial and error if you can afford to do that.
Yeah.
So there's always, if you have the option to do a test makeups, which they obviously had plenty for The Darkest Hour. It's always good because it always pays off.
But I remember actually, shortly before he died, I saw an interview with Stan Winston where they were discussing exactly that, about the the practical makeup sort of transitioning into the digital realm, and he was saying that one of the biggest leaps that he found with that while he was working was obviously with the first couple of Terminator films, when he had to sort of show the endoskeleton underneath the Schwarzenegger cyborg, it was always appliances that obviously he had to add to Arnie's head. Yeah, so they were always obviously bits that you'd put on, but obviously the logic behind it is the skeleton is underneath. And he said by the time they were able to do it digitally and they could apply green parts to Arnie, you were actually able to then take away some of Arnie's skull to show the stuff underneath. And he said that was a big leap because suddenly you were reducing the volume as opposed to adding to it. And again, he said the practical worked really well for some stuff, but there were other areas where using the digital like that was a big advantage. So it is always a balance,
especially when you have like a fantasy characters and stuff, something like I don't know, I think any creature that you can imagine from Guillermo del Toro film.
Oh yes.
There would be a combination of prosthetics and digital.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so any kind of creature makeup effects like that, digital enhancement gave so much more opportunities on what you can do. Pretty much you can do anything you like these days,
Yeah.
You can put some green boots on your actor's legs and have animatronically controlled limbs which look completely non-human and completely avoid the human shape of the legs if you want to.
Yeah. Well, they're actually, I mean, they're doing this with costumes and everything now in terms of combining, both practical and digital.
Ex Machina. This
Right.
is a great example for it. This is the three departments work together.
Yes.
Still costume and makeup.
Yeah. Ex Machina is a great film. Yeah, absolutely.
To create Ava, whatever it was.
Ava.
What was it? How Ava was pronounced. To create her. That was from the design stage they worked together, all the three departments.
Yeah.
To work out costume prosthetics and digital bit. So they put all the joints on the costumes in the logical places for the digital effects to be able to, remove bits and add bits.
Exactly. That removing of what would normally be bulk if you'd sort of try and apply prosthetics onto it. And it's areas like that where it really works. I saw a little featurette actually because the Justice League's just been released on home media. And it was interesting because some of the characters like Batman and Aquaman and Wonder Woman, they all had complete built and designed practical costumes, right? But then you had with Superman, it was kind of a hybrid. So he had like the undersuit, and then the cape was added digitally. And then the character of Cyborg was completely digital. He just wore a performance capture reference suit, and they did the whole thing digitally. And, you know, that's an example of where, you know, regardless of what anyone thinks about the film, that's an example of where they're kind of, you know, combining all the different sort of artist skill sets to do it. And the fact they had to use makeup to remove, Henry Cavill's digital makeup in order to remove Henry Cavill's mustache, which I never quite understood why they just didn't, you know, add a beard instead and have, you know, Superman coming back from the dead with, you know, longer hair and a beard like in the comics. But, you know, they decided not to go that way and spend a shitload of money on hiding a moustache that he couldn't get rid of for contractual reasons, you know.
Right. I was wondering why he couldn't just get rid of the moustache.
Yeah, no, he was filming Mission Impossible 6 at the time,
right.
And his character had
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and from he probably still has it, because I mean, there's still been like filming lately, sort of reshoots and stuff like that. So it's been really up to the wire.
Yeah, is this the latest Mission Impossible?
Yeah, the latest.
One that Tom Cruise broke his foot on.
That's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Well, that's why they're still filming bits of it, isn't it?
I know, it's crazy. The release date's like, I think, is it June or July? And, you know, they're still filming it. So.
Oh yeah, but you know how it goes with things like this. They filming, they editing at the same time.
Oh,
like
yes, that's true. Yeah.
They're very efficient. When I was working with these guys, the American guys from and the guys that do Sharknado and stuff.
Oh, the Asylum.
The Asylum, yeah. So when I was working with them, you know, the scenes we shot the first day, on the third day we were watching edits of them.
Oh, okay.
Because they send the rushes immediately, and then the edits are coming back to us.
Oh, okay.
Well, to the director, obviously. But yeah, we were watching edits on set of the scenes we shot, you know, a few days before.
Yeah, one of the advantages.
Was that the Ben-Hur film?
Yeah.
Ah.
Well, you know how they do, isn't it? They release around big blockbusters with similar names. So.
Yes, they do. Yes.
What is it? They call them mockbusters, right? Is that the term?
Yes. Snakes on the plane. Oh, let's do snakes on the train instead.
Yeah, well, you know, why not? Why not?
Well, they're a great bunch of guys to work with. So much fun to work with them.
But I mean, this all comes from the fact that back in like the video shop, you know, Blockbuster, they would release a film that looks like a sort of summer blockbuster film, similar title, especially poster designs very similar. The idea to confuse customers in shops, because they pick it up and they think that's the one. I know a friend of mine, he once got a copy of not Grendel, it was the Robert Zemeckis film. I think it was one of our picks for Movie Heaven, Movie Hell.
Oh, what, Beowulf?
Beowulf, yeah. He picked up Beowulf and got, thinking it was the animation one, and it turned out to be one with Christopher Lambert in it.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, you know, it makes sense.
And they can't do enough shark movies, these guys. They constantly do shark movies. They never stop. It's like, guys, another shark movie, seriously? They just shot another one in Cape Town this year.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I saw that one at the Horror on Sea Festival.
Oh, no, you've seen the one from last year.
Oh, okay, right.
The one from this year is not out yet.
Oh, I see. Wow, they do crank them out, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. They shoot a lot.
So, Virginia, in your professional opinion, is it quite easy to, like, you know, CGI sharks? Because it seems to be so many films have CGI sharks in it now.
Oh, I wouldn't think it's the easiest thing to CGI, to be honest. And quite often you can see it's a bad CGI, especially on a low budget things.
I know, but there's, as well as sort of Sharknado, you've got sand sharks, snow sharks, you know, all kinds of sharks.
There is a joke about the fact that they do so many shark movies is because they have only this in their CG library and they just make a full use of it.
Yeah.
It's a joke. I don't believe that's the truth.
I think there's a little truth in there.
Yeah, I was going to say, once you got that 3D model built, you can...
That's a joke. I can't remember who told me that, but I just like, no, you're kidding. They cannot be the truth.
Wow.
Yeah, but apparently that's what the joke is, why they do so many shark films. But no, they have some really, really good people working with them. The camera crew that came from America was really good.
Oh yeah, I mean, even though it's, you know, as we call them, a mock buster, they still have to be of a certain quality. They can't be crap because, you know, they can't be shot badly or anything like that, because then nobody will, you know, pay for it. It is a business at the end of the day. I mean, it's, yeah.
Well, as far as I'm aware, they have not made a loss on a movie.
No. I mean, there is a market for that.
They have their hardcore fan followers. So.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Actually, you know, Shark Planet that came out last year was directed by the same guy that directed Ben-Hur.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right. Okay. There you go. You see, they're getting all the bloody work. Damn it. But, no, it's all good. So can you talk us a little bit through your actual process then? So, you know, you get a director contact you or a producer contact you to maybe do some makeup, which involves some sort of special effects and whatever. How do you work with the director, and you know, what's your process for this?
So the first thing, I usually get contacted either by the producer or the director. And the first thing is they tell me kind of roughly what they need. I ask them to send me a script and ask them, do they have any budget? And what's that budget? If they do have some, you know, serious budget, which is not very often the case on small things. Then I read the script, I see what's need to be done, break down the script in a point of view of effects. And then we discuss, then we have usually meetings. So most of the time up to that point, I haven't met them in person. Usually it's like, you know, Facebook or email communication. And then once I've got the script breaking down, we meet face to face to discuss, especially if there is a tricky effect. So I need to know how they're going to shoot that, what they want to show exactly, you know, camera angles, and so on and so forth. And I give them the options they have to create that as effects. With my opinion, what would work best and what would be, you know, what's the prices would be to create each one of the versions we can have. So after that is their decision. They decide what they want to do from there on. And we have to make it happen on the day.
Yeah. I mean, do you get given much prep time on, you know, like, for example, if you've got to have certain prosthetics, you need a lot of time in advance, right, to make the casts and...
I try to get them to give me enough time, but quite often it happens that I end up working on a really tight schedule to prepare the stuff. Like, for example, I have this actor coming today for a live cast or tomorrow. And I have to prepare the prosthetics for Sunday and Monday.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Same week. So it's quite tight. I usually try to have like 2 weeks. These are not heavy prosthetics for this so it's possible to be done. It's just some swollen bits and stuff because he's getting beaten up.
Oh, okay.
Do you like working under pressure like that?
I like to have a bit of pressure,
Mm-hmm.
but not too much. Like sometimes they would leave it literally to the last minute, and I would have 2 days to do like an enormous amount of work, and I'll end up like sleeping 3-4 hours a night to be able to finish for the shoot, which I definitely do not like. But like from today to Saturday, I have like 4 or 5 days, which is okay. I can pace myself nicely through that if I don't have anything else to work on at that period of time. Because sometimes I may have 2 projects running, together, and I may not have the whole day to work on the prep. But at the moment, for this particular project, I have this luxury of these 4 days to just commit to that. So that would be fine for me. I have enough time to kind of do it. But I like to have like 1 or 2 weeks, especially if it's something more complicated, at least 2 weeks to prepare. And if it's something more complicated, I would like to have a test, test makeup day, if possible. But it really depends on the production, like what they want to do. Some people I work with would give me that, and we'll do tests and everything. And others are just really quick, want everything done very fast, and not really much of a time for testing.
Yeah. And what do you enjoy doing most? I mean, is there a particular type of makeup that you enjoy, or is it just all the same and you take it on a job by job basis?
I like special effects mainly because they're more challenging. Like hair and makeup, genre of hair and makeup is fairly simple once you've learned the rules. You follow them, and it's fairly simple, unless you have some really complicated hairstyle like Edwardian or something, which may be a bit more tricky to do on the hair side. But generally for film, you just need like quite simple, not over the top makeup that doesn't really take much time, and you don't really even need much of a prep for it. Well, when you have something like a special effects, then there's always like a challenge, to prepare the prosthetics, apply them, then paint them to look realistic, and dress them and all that. So it's more challenging, and obviously some creatures and stuff is always fun to do. Anything that's involved body painting, face painting, also I quite like. Drag makeup is fun. I had the chance to do that on a short project a few years back, and it was great because I had to turn somebody who has got quite chiseled, manly jaw into more female feel to it, just with makeup, just with highlights and shading, which was a great challenge, great fun. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, fabulous. And is there anything that you'd really like to do that you haven't had the opportunity to do yet with makeup effects?
Really heavy creature makeup.
Okay.
I've done a couple of creatures, but they haven't been that like full-on bodysuit kind of thing, They haven't been that heavy.
And you'd like that challenge, yeah?
I would like to do something like that.
With a budget, no doubt.
With a budget, of course. Of course. You can't do that without a budget, like some proper fantasy or, some proper fantasy creature.
Yeah. Something like in a Guillermo del Toro film, like you were saying earlier.
Something like that. Or some of the Marvel things they have.
Well, me and Virginia, we had the chance to go and have a look at the head from American Werewolf in London, didn't we?
Oh yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took so many pictures of that.
That was for a project that I was going to do, which didn't come to fruition. It may still, don't know. Didn't never got the script quite right, but still, it's still a possibility. But I was going to do a werewolf film, and
Oh, fabulous.
yeah, and Virginia was going to design the werewolf. Though at that point we were looking at shooting a short test where we were just going to use a head, use like a puppet, and
Oh, I seem to remember you saying something about this way back. Yeah. Okay.
I actually put together a sort of a trailer that was made up of footage from other films to sort of to sort of show what I had in mind.
Yeah.
It was going to be a kind of like cross between American Werewolf in London and Predator.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the sound of that. I mean, you're absolutely right, though. To anything like that, you're absolutely right. You've got to have the script. The script's got to sort of 100% work before you sort of commit to any of major costs like that, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So you were probably right to put it on hold if you were.
Yeah. The idea for the short was that we'd never see the full werewolf. I was sort of just more concentrating on the head. I was going to do something which we've seen it quite a few times. I mean, especially at the beginning of Dog Soldiers, we see like a couple being attacked in a tent, and that was kind of like what I was going to do, sort of, to kind of this short film, but as sort of a way of introducing the premise for my film, and so it was going to be mostly sort of effects with the head. We were going to have it sort of pressing into the tent, so you sort of see kind of an impression of its sort of snout, as it's sort of just sniffing around and stuff, and just sort of putting the audience on edge. And then we were going to have like a jump scare where you just would see sort of the jaws and stuff. And we wanted to look at the American Werewolf in London head because it was used for the bit where one of the kids gets attacked on the Yorkshire Dales.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's sort of screaming, and you just see the head of the werewolf sort of biting into him. And it was a combination of having a head, and I believe it was like some sort of scissor system they were using to make the jaws go up and down.
Wow.
It was a very basic system, but it was very effective.
Oh, massively.
Yeah.
No. So I mean, that was one of our heaven picks, wasn't it?
The more effective things are usually quite simple, surprisingly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it just sort of came down to the fact that you could see something was attacking him, but also a lot was left to the imagination. Plus, the actor's performance. I mean, you really felt that he was being torn apart.
Yeah. You need
I agree.
Good performance, definitely, for that as well.
Yeah. But I mean, it's saying all that though. I mean, American Werewolf in London is known for having a transformation that this takes place fully in daylight, underneath bright lights in a room. And it is amazing to see how they did all that. I mean, they had to break it down into shots. They couldn't do the whole thing as like a one-er, but it's still amazing to see all the different bits and pieces they did just to create that transformation scene.
The magic of editing these days is amazing what you can achieve with practical effects and cuts in between in the right places.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
I discovered a new, it's not a new technique, it's a very old technique of animation while I've been in NFTS called pixelation. And I have in mind a personal project to do, because I think that kind of technique can give you like a really great opportunity to explore makeup and transform somebody through makeup.
Oh wow, okay.
Okay.
And have it like a transformation in camera. Because basically what it is, it's like a stop motion
Yeah.
or go motion. So there's two versions of it.
Yeah.
But it's done with the real size props and the real size like actors, live actors. They just freeze frame for you, and you take loads of photos, still photos.
Oh right, yeah.
Run them through Dragon Frame, which is like an animation software. And then you join them together, and it creates this really interesting motion. But because of this, you can actually do a makeup transformation.
Oh wow, okay.
Step by step through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can morph one image into another.
Yeah.
Using that technique and have something quite interesting. So I want to explore this in the future.
Have you got to do a like a personal project for the course? Have you got to come up with something like that, or is this just something that you want to do anyway?
You don't have to, but you can pitch personal projects to the school.
Mm-hmm.
It is an opportunity there, as long as you involve many of your colleagues, and the school finds your project is interesting, you will get a green light to do it. If not, you can do your own personal project, which nobody can stop you doing in your own time, in with your own means. But the good thing, with the school is that you have all these other talented people around that you can collaborate with. And also some equipment you have access to.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Right. So you want to do some sort of like some sort of Lon Chaney type transformation, yeah, like from a person into a creature, or is that the idea?
Yeah, something like that. I wasn't really thinking about werewolf, but
right.
Something definitely fantasy.
Right. Okay. That sounds cool.
Yeah, sounds good.
Sounds really good. Obviously, you can always call on the likes of me and Simon for help. I'm sure if you want to do something like that, you've helped us on stuff.
I was more thinking in the lines of Guillermo del Toro kind of fantasy creatures. They're more interesting and more kind of my style.
Doug Jones is kind of busy at the moment, though.
Yeah, he's very busy.
It's it sounds that sounds interesting because, like you said, you're using again visual effects to help something that you're actually going to do in camera as well, and if you can combine those things, that they can turn out really cool. So yeah, excellent. I mean, what are your thoughts on we there are a lot of things now where I've often heard the sort of people, sometimes wrongly, but they refer to things like performance capture CG as being essentially CG makeup. And there's some sort of controversy around that, but obviously there's quite a lot of films being produced very well that's using that technology. But what are your thoughts? I mean, do you think generally speaking, actors prefer the practical makeup, or do you think that they like the freedom that they get with when something's done digitally? I know that's a tough question to answer.
At least actors I've worked with that done both, because they have a different kind of challenges. The motion capture is more of a physical challenge for them usually, because they're required to do a lot of physical things usually. Because mostly is used for creatures or games. Games is big on motion capture.
Mm-hmm.
So they do a lot of fight sequence and jumps and leaps and stuff like that, which more physical actors really love. Basically, motion capture is actor driving a CG character. So the character can be even a dinosaur, which is moved by the actor. So it's basically cuts off the whole bit of animation process. Obviously, you need to do a cleanup of that capture after, which is also involves some animating, but it reduces the time for animating a CG character from scratch and creating, all the movements and tweaks and stuff to make it look realistic. But then the actors, let's say if they're moving a dinosaur, they have to adopt that kind of body structure to make the character move naturally, which is a challenge for them, and they find it interesting.
Yeah. Find their inner dinosaur. It all works. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we did a motion capture. One of our modules is motion capture at the school. And we were split into teams. So we were 7 people, and we had to create a whole little short story up to 2 minutes long, I think it was, which main aim was to have a CG character which is controlled by motion capture, and that CG character is put into a live plate and interacts with the objects in that live plate, back plate. So my team, we created a tea girl, which morphed from a spilled cup of tea, and she danced around this table and interacted with the phone receiver and books and cup around the table, and did a little dance. So we had to do that with motion capture, and create, a digital character that she can move. It was very interesting. It was great fun little project. No makeup involved at all.
I have to say, this course you're doing does sound really interesting. I have to admit, because it sounds like you're trying all different, techniques and aspects and facets of the sort of visual effects world, and I think that's fascinating.
It's great, and it's also being in NFTS means that you do it in the best possible facilities.
Yes.
So we did our motion capture in Centroid, which is one of the biggest motion capture studios around London. They're based in Pinewood.
Very good.
Very nice.
Very nice.
They've done motion capture for a lot of games and a lot of big movies.
Yeah.
So we spent, we had an introduction day there where the team of Centroid explained to us what we need to prepare and And then the week after, we had 1 day shoot for each team, so 2 days in total, to capture our motion. And before that, the week before that, we had to shoot the live plate. So we have a reference, because you have to recreate that live plate on the floor of your motion capture studio.
Right.
In the right scale. Because the other part of it, that our character had to be either smaller or bigger than a human being.
Oh, okay.
So that was also a condition. So our was smaller, so you have to recreate that desk plot on the floor and scale it up, because you have a human moving there that scales down to your, digital character. So you have to recreate the distances between the objects. Obviously, you don't need to have the objects exactly the same. You kind of mark their positions and height and stuff. Mm-hmm. But the actor has to have something to interact and know what's where.
No, absolutely. You're dealing with scale and distance and all that sort of thing. I mean, I was very lucky. I went to see a Q&A not long ago with Andy Serkis of Imaginarium, and
nice.
he was talking about, he thinks, he's like talking about the future of sort of film in theatre combined, and he was saying, I mean, he's very passionate about this stuff, as you know, where he believes that mocap will be used in live theatre environments, so that you have actors interacting with creatures and stuff that you see on stage, but are actually being generated by an actor in a performance capture studio, and he's got all these ideas about where it can go and how interactive it can be, and all of that sort of thing. And it just makes you think, wow, yes, the possibilities are endless with this stuff, and I think it's always important to know the practical way of doing it, as well as the sort of latest technology, if you know what I mean. I think it's important to know both and use both.
Motion capture is quite new still, so it's there's so much still to be done, and people constantly do new developments in the area, so it's crazy what kind of things you will be able to do, like capture somebody's facial movements in a real time. That's what they're developing at the moment. Yeah,
no, it's fascinating.
Well, we saw the development of actually having cameras close up to the face, which I think for a few years ago they weren't doing. But that was a development that came out of Avatar, that they just to catch the expressions and stuff, just the minute expressions, having this camera right up in their face. And and of course having all the dots all over them.
And also the cameras, like the motion control, that's another part of it. Motion control cameras. The first one that were built were ginormous.
Yeah.
And now they build these rigs and stuff, and the sizes of the cameras have reduced, and the things that they can do. And the first 360 camera was really big.
Yes. Yeah. And now they're tiny.
Yeah. Well, again, we wouldn't get shows like Orphan Black and stuff without that sort of technology, where you've got multiple passes with the same actor playing different characters in the same scene and all this sort of stuff. And, you can now get some quite complex camera movements in there, as opposed to the old static shots that they used to do when they just did composites that way. So, it is fascinating. It really is. It blows the mind.
Well, the thing is, in the past, when there were supposed to be anything digitally done, they tried to have locked cameras because it was easier.
Yes.
To do the effects after, because you don't have to, track the camera and, all these kind of things. But now there is so many ways to, track, which still can be pain, but you can track the camera movement, and also you can record the data for the camera on set, which is what visual supervisors are in part of what they are in charge of when they're on set. Getting the camera details, intrinsics, extrinsics, so what lenses has been shot on, how far the camera was there another pan, anything about the camera that can help do a proper track easier after when you do digital effects. So that they have to, collect all that camera information. So they have to collaborate with the camera team to record all the information.
Well, when I was, again, on Transformers, there was a chap there from ILM, and he was taking multiple photographs and measurements of the entire area of the location.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to extend the battlefield that we were in.
Yeah.
Because there was only a certain amount of woodland that we were allowed to use, they wanted to extend it and make it bigger. And so yeah, that was kind of quite interesting seeing him go around. Though I don't know why he was wearing camouflage. That I don't know.
Probably just a choice.
Yeah, a fashion choice.
Fashion choice, yeah. But taking loads of pictures from everywhere makes a lot of sense, yeah, because it gathers like a visual information on textures, on lighting, on camera position. I wouldn't be surprised if he had another person with him who had a witness camera that was filming the other camera, where the other camera is.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They use all kinds of different, techniques to gather as much information as possible to back themselves up so they can recreate a, more realistic CG.
Well, exactly, because I mean, at the end of the day, we did have a giant dragon flying around and, firing fireballs at people and stuff.
They're hard to come by. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, a bit hard to come by.
Yes, I still remember the Michael Bay's direction about, so there's a big dragon and it's flying towards you and you got to run away and you're shit scared. And I was like, oh, okay. But don't run into the smoke. Don't run into the fire. Don't run into the knights fighting.
Don't know what's where.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to just imagine it.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, he didn't mention the horses that would be riding up behind us, so there's that. They don't call it Bayhem for no reason.
Oh, yeah, he's famous for that.
Oh, he's not a very good director.
He's also famous for liking to do everything in camera.
But there's the irony.
Yes.
Gonna blow up a car. Let's blow up a car for real.
Well, the man loves his explosions.
Yes.
I mean, he can shoot explosions to the cows come home, but unfortunately, he can't direct act.
Oh.
He has done some good films, though, but that's a whole nother podcast.
Yes, I agree, but I've said this before on other podcasts, so I'm going to say it again. When you've got an actor delivering a line, you don't need to film everything else that's going on around him, especially if the actor cannot nail the line.
Yeah, but they can. That's why they do it, because they can.
I know, but it makes no sense. I mean, it's, again, it was a bit of pivotal dialogue in this, in this scene for, Transformers, and, everything else that's going on was just a distraction. I mean, we didn't need to run that 11 times just because the actor could not say a very simple line as well.
Hey, keep you fit, what?
Yeah, but it burns the calories off from the ample craft services that they probably had on that shoot. So it's all good, right?
I'm not complaining about that, because overtime on a shoot's very good.
There you go.
And one of those shoots you want to go into overtime.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So Virginia, is there anything at the moment that you're working on that you want to talk about or tell us about, or anything coming up that's exciting?
Actually, I'm doing this project that I'm gonna be doing a live cast for. Is a very interesting project of my school with BFI.
Okay.
It's called BFI Film Academy, I do believe, and it's for teens.
Oh.
And the kids are got together for I think over the holidays, Easter holiday, and they produce a little short film. So they see the whole process of it. And one of my colleagues who graduated the producing course last year, so he just graduated, well, actually in the beginning of this year, is helping out with producing it. So he asked me to do the makeup for it.
Fantastic.
Oh, very nice.
And
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it because it's a really nice little initiative, to get young people into the film business.
Oh, indeed.
No, absolutely. That's good.
And then I have another 2 short stories going on at the end of the month, which are with people I've worked before, not connected with the school. One, I'm really looking forward to it because I really love dancing, and we're going to be working with a ballet dancer.
Oh, nice.
The other one is just like a little drama thing. We're going to shoot over 3 days, which I am still to read the script for.
Okay.
I mean, I got it. I just haven't had the time to sit down and read it yet. Because it's kind of gets pushed back because it's at the end of the month and everything else comes before it. Yeah, I've been naughty there. I should read it, really.
Yeah. And of course, Virginia, you've worked on the whole of my feature film, Modern Love. You've been there from the very first short that we did back in, was it 2011?
Yeah,
Yes.
I was going to ask, how is this going?
It's coming along. It's all sort of it's all being edited. So it's more or less there. It's only got a few bits more of editing till we're in the final cut, and then it will be a sound grade and color grading, and then it will be finished. So it should be ready for the summer.
Ooh, looking forward to see it.
Yes, well, God, yes, it's been so long, but
Yeah.
But you've worked on every story. I think there's only you were only unavailable for 1 day out of all the days we've shot on this.
Yeah, I think more or less.
Yeah.
Or maybe a couple of stories. I don't know. I'm not quite sure.
Well, you've been there for the majority of it.
The majority of it, yeah.
Definitely.
I know I wasn't available for 1 day on the one with Joe Marriott. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. The one that got away.
It was Virginia, obviously. The one who got away on that day.
On 1 day, yeah. I
One
think
day.
I was booked already for something else when you contacted me, so I couldn't do that particular day.
But the rest of of that shoot you were available for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there is a talks for 3 or 4 potential low budget features for this year, but I don't want to say more because nothing's confirmed yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Makes sense.
Until they're you have a contract.
Until you're
yeah.
on set with this kind of shoots, you never know.
No, yeah.
I was really looking forward to doing The Butcher, which was supposed to be like a horror slasher movie.
Okay.
And it was quite heavy on special effects plus digital effects enhancement. And the director was also a VFX person, so he was going to be doing the digital effects, and we had all the discussions, how we're going to do the effects, how we're going to shoot them, what's going to be practical, what's going to be digital, and I was so excited about it. And we were talking about we were going to shoot in France for 2 weeks, and literally in the middle of the week before the week we were supposed to head to France, like literally 4 days before we're supposed to head to locations.
Yeah.
The director and the producer had some disagreement, so the whole project was
Michelle.
stopped.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
And
Yeah.
never happened. And I was so looking forward to do all these effects.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that is a shame. I mean, that does happen. I think that's happened for me on as many productions as I've actually probably done. I've had ones that have fallen through, and it is a bummer, particularly when you're really sort of passionate about it and looking forward to doing it, and then it doesn't happen for whatever reason.
I was really excited because the effects I was supposed to be doing were amazing, really challenging.
Well, it might come back. It might come back. You never know. These things happen, and they might get another producer on board or some more financing or something. You never know. So
yeah,
and I'm sure they'll come to you first, as you were, you've had all the discussions and you were enthusiastic about it, and I'm sure that's the key. Often is you want to be surrounded by people who can A, do the work, but B, are actually excited and keen and enthusiastic about doing it, especially when you're working in conditions where you probably haven't got all the money and all the resources and all the time that you'd like. So, the fact that you were super excited about this, I'm sure that guy will remember. And if he is able to, because he's probably just as gutted, he or she, is probably just as gutted. Yeah.
I'm sure they are. They were two producers, actually, a female and a male.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm sure they're gutted as well and would love to get it done. They had some good cast as well. But
fingers crossed on that one. Fingers crossed on that one.
Guardian's been doing well. I don't know. Did you guys see that?
No, I haven't had a chance to see it yet.
I have not had the opportunity either yet, although it is definitely on my list to see, because obviously know a lot of the cast and crew that were involved in that, and obviously want to support it. So when there's a local screening that I can actually make, I will be there for sure.
I think there is another one coming in London. I can't remember when.
I will keep my eyes peeled for that.
Maybe towards the end of April there was one in London.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay.
But yeah, they've been shown on a lot of festivals recently in the Newcastle one.
Yeah, no, they're doing quite well. In fact, you're making me think we should get them on, actually, probably to talk about it and help promote it at some point, because I'm sure there's an interesting story behind that one. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was great fun doing it. It was a great little shoot.
Was that just sort of beauty and hair, or was there special effects as well?
Well, it was mainly beauty and hair, but there was a couple of effects bits as well.
Oh, excellent.
Not too many, just a couple. Nothing big that you can, even realize, one of them kind of slides by people.
Okay.
They don't even realize somebody had to actually do that as an effect. Effect makeup. So it's quite funny. But yeah, it was great fun. I like working with these guys. It's always fun.
Yeah. Oh no, they're a great bunch. So no, absolutely.
Yes.
Cool.
At the end of the day, the award I won in 2016 was for one of their shorts, so I can't complain.
Yes.
Oh right, so you won an award, yeah? Oh, tell us about that. Come on, big yourself up.
I won an award from Tabloid Witch for best FX makeup.
And what was that for?
In 2016 for the short of Ben-HUR called Stained.
Stained, okay, yes.
Yeah. And that had a lot of work from me. So yeah.
For any listeners out there that don't know who we're talking about, this is Ben-HUR Films, which I'm sure if you put that into Google, you'll be able to find more information on that stuff out there.
Yeah, so we got 3 awards from Tabloid Witch that year. One was for Best Supporting Role for Chris Paridis. The other one was Best Makeup Effects for me. And then we had an honorable mention, which went to Mark Brown and Phil Hayne.
Oh, well, congratulations there to you and to those guys. Awesome. I didn't know that, so that's cool.
It was great. Yeah, it's finally on my wall. I put it last week. Had it laying around my house for ages. I was like, I should really put it up.
Absolutely. Until you run out of wall space where you've got so many. That's the goal, right?
Running out of wall space at the moment because I have too much of my makeup work on the walls, but it would be nice to replace it with awards, right?
or a room for each. There you go. That's the goal.
Oh yeah, that sounds better.
Aim high. Aim high.
Aim high. Yeah, it's my motto. Aim high.
Absolutely, that's a good motto. Yes.
Yeah. A lot of times I've been told I'm aiming too high, and I always say, well, if you aim high, at least you know you're gonna get halfway up.
Most definitely.
So, Virginia, is there a website people can find out more about your work?
Yeah, my website is virginiapopova.com. Very simple. I'm also on Instagram at virpo.sfx and under the same name on Twitter.
Excellent.
And I have a Facebook page, a makeup page. So if you just put Virginia Popova on Facebook, you can find me. Very easy.
There you go. So filmmakers out there, you need good makeup and effects makeup, you know who to call. There you go.
And
keep coming in my direction.
Absolutely. That's what we all have to do, us independents. We have to support each other. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so if they're looking for an actor who's very good at portraying British people, where should they go?
Oh, I don't know. Spotlight, I guess.
Well, if you want a British officer in your Star Trek fan film, where should they go?
Yeah. Well, you can find some of my work if you go to YouTube and put in British Eyles. It's Eyles, as in my last name. You can find some shorts there that I've written, produced, and directed, and one that I'm in. And if you want to see other credits, just put my name, Keith Eyles, into IMDb.
And as always, you can find my work at independentrunnings.com. You can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and all good podcast providers. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search Movie Heaven, Movie Hell. And please leave us a rating and review on iTunes and Stitcher. It all helps. So that just leaves me to thank Virginia for coming on.
It was a great pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, it's always a pleasure chatting with you, Virginia.
Yep, thanks very much.
Thank you.
And thank you to you, the listener, too, for checking us out and listening. And please check out the next episode of Movie Heaven, Movie Hell.